You're right.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm keeping that. Just keep that as the intro. Uh, so we're on to book five. I mean, spoilers because you guys haven't seen the review yet, but this movie was, well, it was rather fantastic, phenomenal even.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much in agreement.
That is very true.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember because the last like four films kind of blend together with certain events. Is this the one? I think it is where all the teachers show up. What's that, part six? They show up at Harry's house, and we've never actually seen any of them.
Yes, this is
This
that.
is that.
Yeah. So
And there's even
King's-
more. There's even more people in the book.
Yeah. Do you want to start there? Should we make that our first talking point?
Yeah. So you've got. Is this where Kingsley's introduced?
This
Was
is
he
King-
introduced
Yeah,
before?
fucking Kingsley Shacklebolt.
Are you suggesting that the lady who wrote the name Cho Chang may be racially insensitive?
Yes, that
Oh.
is exactly what I'm fucking suggesting.
I mean, Cho Chang has an American cousin, Shooty McBurgerface.
Oh no. But to talk about this, so this is something that's come up in our conversations just in between the three of us about Harry Potter, where the books, not the books, sorry, the movies seem to assume that everyone has read the books. So in book five, a bunch of people turn up at Harry's house after the incident with the Dementors and are like, yo, Harry, what's up? We're taking you off to somewhere safe. And then in the book, Harry's like, what are you all doing here? And our first question is, who is everyone?
Yeah, we're like, right, Mad Eye Moody and a bunch of other people.
Exactly.
Let me see. I think I can pull up who all is actually there.
Yeah. And Lupin's there in the book, isn't he? He turns up at Harry's
Yeah,
house.
Lupin is there in the book. Let me see. Where is it? Can you please tell me? Because there's also
It's page 45.
page 45.
No, it's not literally page 45. He doesn't know.
I just said a random number.
It's actually close though. That's actually close because that is actually where they show up. That's when they show up in the book.
See, I know.
So it's Mad Eye, it's Nymphadora Tonks, Kingsley is there. A character that is more prominent in Deathly Hallows, Alpheus Doge, Dumbledore's oldest friend, is there as well. I think this character was in the Philosopher's Stone, but his name always makes me laugh. Daedalus Diggle.
Sounds like a kids show or something. Ah, look, kids, it's Thomas the Tank Engine and Diddless Diggle.
Yeah. Emily.
And
Emily
Winky.
Winky.
Fucking
Stop
Winky.
with Winky.
Is
Can I
Winky
just-
in this book?
No.
Winky's not in any of the books after this, I don't think.
Yeah.
Oh, they got rid of Winky.
Winky was a one and done character, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then there's Emmeline Vance, Sturgis Podmore, and Hestia Jones, members of the Order of the Phoenix, basically. That's who is in there in this scene. I'm sorry that took so long, but anyways.
Which is also, this speaks again to the problem of bloat. This entire scene in the movie took, what, 30
2
seconds?
Or yeah.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
It's like, right, Harry, we're here to save you. Get on the broomsticks, off they fly.
Let me guess. This is a whole chapter, isn't it?
Maybe not a whole chapter, but it's most of a chapter is just them dicking around in Privet Drive, just like there's a bit like, oh, they're tidy, these muggles. Oh my god, it's a sink. How does the sink work? And it's just like,
Yeah.
because I mean, it's reintroducing obviously like Moody and Lupin, who we've not seen. Well, I guess we've never met the real Moody because the Moody in book 4
Isn't
was
this
an
the
imposter.
one where Harry saves Dudley at the start?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
Mrs. Figg shows up, and again she's not been introduced, so the audience are like, who the hell are you?
Yeah, which is
Meanwhile, Mrs. Figg is in the first fucking book.
yeah, because she's introduced as like the Dursleys. I think we mentioned this in the first episode actually. She's the Dursleys' like crazy neighbor who loves
Yeah.
cats, and whenever the Dursley would go out, they would always leave Harry at Mrs. Figg's. And then at one point, Harry's like to Mrs. Figg, who's just like, "Hey, Mrs. Figg, if you knew that I was a wizard and you know Dumbledore, why did you make all my trips to yours so miserable?" And Mrs. Figg is just like, "No time for that now. We've got to move." And it's like, no.
Doesn't
She basically said, good question for another time.
One thing I wanted to quickly mention also about the escape from Privet Drive. So, in the book, Mad Eye Moody puts this sort of magical incantation on Harry that makes him essentially like a human chameleon. Like he's completely invisible, he blends into his surroundings. It's like, okay, so when they're flying through the air, nobody can see them. Makes sense. In the movie, they fly down the middle of the fucking Thames in view of boats, in view of houses, in view of the Houses of Parliament. It's like, okay, which is the statute of secrecy means nothing anymore. Okay.
Yeah, and also the scene in the book is more boring.
Yeah.
Surprise.
But I do like the music in that scene, I should say. I always remember the theme.
I like Nicholas Hooper's score in the movies. Do you want to share what Dave put in the chat when he was first starting to listen to the audiobook about what Vernon was doing?
Yeah, so just for context, Rob and I were in a cramped car coming back from Scotland.
I don't know how Dave was in a car, but...
Oh, yeah. Oh, Dave was in the back. We were filming Ready to Stumble. Get ready for it. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, I was shoved in the boot. Anyway, so I decided, well, I'm about to start book 5, rather. Let's put on the audiobook in the car. And at one point, we get to a scene where, in the first chapter, where Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia are watching the news on TV. I'm going to find the exact quote. So just give me a second.
But while he's looking, there's a moment. It's one of Harry's best moments of the whole series. It's one of his sassiest moments. And this is at the very start when Vernon catches him listening to the news. And he's basically like, "What were you doing under our window, boy?" "Listening to the news," said Harry in a resigned voice. His aunt and uncle exchanged looks of outrage. "Listening to the news? Again?" "Well, it changes every day, you see," said Harry.
Yeah, we made that point in the car, actually. Harry's a lot more sassy in the books than he isn't really in the news.
So much.
The thing is, I can picture Daniel Radcliffe having the perfect delivery of that line.
Yeah. Well, it changes every day, you see.
Yeah. So I found the quote. So the quote is, "Record numbers of stranded holidaymakers fill airports as the Spanish baggage handlers strike reaches its second week. Give him a lifelong siesta, I would," snarled Uncle Vernon.
Oh, fucking God.
But why? It's just Uncle Vernon hates the Spanish. Just for no reason.
Yeah. No, so Dudley's attacked by the Dementors. The scene before that is even more dragged out in the fucking book. I prefer the way it's done in the movie, but in the book, they're all alone and they're walking home to Privet Drive. And Harry is just tearing into Dudley. He's fucking bullying the shit out of Dudley. He's become the bully. I think it's actually said in this book that he lost a lot of weight.
Oh, but in this one, they still say Vernon has sausage fingers.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, like, and this is when we find out that Harry's been having nightmares about Cedric's death.
Oh, we'll get to that. I've got a few choice words about Cedric's death. My question is, I'm hoping it's different in the book, but in the movie, Cho Chang is mourning the death of Cedric. Then Harry walks in and he's like, "Do you want a snog?" And she's like, "Yeah, right."
That's how it is in the book.
Pretty much.
But here's the thing. The kiss in the book comes out of nowhere, whereas in the movie it's built up. And
was it?
And yeah, it kind of comes out of nowhere, and like they're just talking out of nowhere. "Oh, mistletoe," and then Cho's just like getting closer to Harry, and all he can see is the fucking tears in her eyes, and it doesn't actually show them kissing.
Can I just point out how much I hate the name Cho Chang?
I
know we've said it before, but even us saying it in passing, it sounds like we're using a racial slur. Is she still the one who snitches about the room of requirement in the book?
No.
Yes, let's bring this up. Yes.
Okay, let's talk about this. So, Dumbledore's army. So, obviously, in the movie, it happens the same way. They all go to the pub. They all meet up and say, "Look, Umbridge is being a bit of a bitch. Let's team up and learn defense against the dark arts in our own time."
Obviously. Oh, that's my favorite line in the film.
I think that's actually in the book.
And you were it's Alan Rickman's face. Obvious.
I think that part is actually in the book. That scene is in the book, so that's perfect.
Yeah. Anyway, so and then at one point they all get together, right? Let's form this club, and then Hermione's like, "Right, you all need to sign this piece of paper." Now the characters don't know this, but it's later revealed that Hermione enchanted this piece of paper so that anyone who tried to snitch about the group had a nasty punishment happen to them, and we'll come back to it. So
A bit
essentially what
morbid.
happens, at one point they're all training. Dobby shows up, and we'll talk more about Dobby later, and says, well, he doesn't say, but he kind of warns them that Umbridge is about to catch them, and everyone cheeses it. And luckily, unlike in the movie where they all get caught, in the book, everyone except Harry gets away. And it's revealed that the person who snitched is not Cho, but is her best friend, who was cut out of the movie. Sorry, say again the name, sorry.
Marietta Edgecombe.
Yeah, so they kind of merged the two characters together in the movie.
Yeah, you want to know what the fuck that jinx was on that paper, Rob?
Go on.
Okay, you want me to say it?
Yeah.
Can I say it?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so we learned that this girl, Marietta, who snitches, develops the word sneak written across her face in acne.
So Hermione's a bit of a psychopath.
Yeah,
I thought she was the nice one in the last one.
Yeah,
now she's Ted Bundy.
Yeah, she's just scarring people's faces for no reason.
And I think she made it to where the acne never went away.
So I was going to jump to Umbridge, but since we're talking about the Room of Requirement, it's that time. I'm going to go back to Redemption Arc.
Here we go.
There we go.
And we're gonna talk about my boy Draco, and we're gonna talk about this more in the next one because the next movie could have really capitalized on this. So this is again how I would have. I can't remember exactly what I said in the previous ones, but I would have hinted at it in like part 3 with Draco. I probably wouldn't have Draco be as evil as they had in those films, but have him like tease Hermione. But this one would be where he shows resistance. I would have him. It would be difficult, but not impossible to. I would have had Draco realize Cedric's dead. For whatever reason, he believes Harry. And he's like, the only person who can kill Voldemort is Harry and Dumbledore. I'm going to join the Dumbledore army, but he doesn't want his friends to find out. So he does it secretly. Obviously, Harry being Harry would let him in. Hermione, Ron, Ginny would all call him a twat. But he lets him in. Draco hates being taught by Harry, but he does it, whatever. And then eventually Draco's conflicted, so he's the one who snitches, and then that adds to the character, which will then be discussed in the next book. Thoughts?
Yeah, that would have been interesting because Draco does fuck all in this goddamn book.
I was gonna say because Draco is at this point not even a character. He may as well have like, hello, I'm bully number 1. How are you today?
They get to book 6 and they're like, oh, maybe we should put him somewhere in here.
It's like maybe we should give him a character. Let's make him a character now. The thing it's just I would question your thing of Harry would let him in because he's Harry. As presented in the books and in the films, if Draco tried to join Dumbledore's army, Harry would tell him, get fucked, go away, I don't want nothing to do with you. Because he's done nothing but
at this
belittle
point,
him.
He doesn't. Yeah, but like, surely it's the end of the world or a petty little teenage grudge.
But it's not really because this guy has made his life miserable. It's not really just I don't like this guy. It's like this guy, not only do I not like this guy, his father is a Death Eater. Because this point,
they don't know that yet, do they?
No, Harry knows that Lucius is a Death Eater.
Oh, yeah,
of course he does.
Yeah. All right.
So like, so I would obviously you're saying that you would go back to the earlier stories and tweak.
I wouldn't have him be as evil.
Yeah, but I think as just like you would have to make it so he doesn't know Lucius is a Death Eater because like that's the thing that then leads Harry to believe that Draco becomes a Death Eater later.
What if you implement a scene where Draco kind of pours his heart out and says he doesn't agree with his dad and he wants to separate himself from his dad?
Maybe. I'm struggling to see.
I've nearly got him.
I'm struggling to see where that would come up. Draco would just be like, yo, Harry, yeah, I want to join your army. And here's why.
He just asked to join. Harry's like, no, your dad's a Death Eater, fuck off. And then I don't know, an emotional talk with Draco's like, I'm nothing like my father. yada
Yeah.
yada. Or you could I don't know, leave it more vague and have it explained in the next one, which we'll get to another time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just love
Yeah.
bleach blonde anti-heroes.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Anyway.
Yeah. Striving off topic for just a second. There's a funny moment on page 156, and it's right after the hearing. And yes, the hearing in the ministry is also more dragged out in the book. Big fucking surprise. But it's when Harry is just coming home from the you guys are gonna fucking laugh at this. So, and the Weasleys are all celebrating that his charges were dropped. Mrs. Weasley was wiping her face on her apron, and Fred, George, and Ginny were doing a kind of war dance to a chant that went, "He got off. He got off. He got."
Again, that could be interpreted very differently.
Rowling, did you even pay attention to what the fuck you were writing?
Yeah. I mean, I can appreciate that he got off maybe doesn't mean the same thing in 2003 that it did in 2025.
Yeah.
Oh no, it still meant the same thing.
Oh, okay.
It's
No,
just
because like there's I don't know if you guys know this YouTuber. His name is Movie Flame, and he's a humongous Harry Potter fan. And every time he's brought up this quote, he will literally say, "That's what she said."
Oh, I see. So, okay, fair enough. Just on the topic of the hearing, just to get that out of the way. It plays out more or less the same in the. I mean, the movie one's slightly condensed, because in the book it takes a whole chapter, And also, that scene in the movie where Harry and Mr. Weasley make their way to the hearing is what, a minute in the movie?
Yes, and
It
it's
is
like 20
it is
fucking
an
pages.
entire chapter in the book because we have to show Harry waking up for breakfast. Harry eating.
What did he have? What did he have?
I think toast. I think they actually specify he has toast.
Yeah, just toast because he's too nervous.
What's on the toast?
Well, I don't know. I didn't stop to check.
Was it butter? Was he a jam kind of guy? One thing I was quite impressed with in the movie is how evil. I mean, everyone talks about it, but how evil Umbridge is.
She's worse in the book.
She is horrific in the film. She tortures children. She's worse in the book? What did she do?
It's revealed in the third act that she is actually the one who sent the Dementors after Harry in the beginning.
Yeah, which they didn't. They never specified in the film, and I actually rewatched it to check. They don't specify.
No.
Who sent the Dementors? So you're just sat there thinking, like, were the Dementors just out for a walk? And they were like, "Oh, there's Harry Potter. Should we fuck with him? Come on, lads, let's have a good time."
Imagine they're just going for a nightly stroll. Oh, there's Harry.
One scene is open to interpretation in the movie, but apparently is made more evident in the book, is when Umbridge gets taken away by the centaurs. In the movie, you don't question it. But apparently there's an urban legend that centaurs have a tendency to sexually assault people. And apparently in the book, after that scene, she is shown and she looks traumatized. And it's heavily implied that she has, in fact, been raped by the centaurs because J.K. Rowling is in severe need of a therapy session.
Yeah, let me see if I can find the actual moment.
I do remember the scene, though, because there's a bit where, after the ordeal in the ministry, they're all in the hospital wing, like all 6 of the kids. And they can see Umbridge in the bed next to her, who looks like shell-shocked. And then at one point, Ron makes, like, clip-clopping noises. Like,
yeah. I found it. Page 849. Yeah, she shows signs of life if you do this, said Ron. And with his tongue, he made soft clip-clopping noises. Umbridge sat bolt upright, looking wildly around. Anything wrong, Professor? Called Madame Pomfrey, poking her head around her office door. No, said Umbridge, sinking back into her pillows. No, I must have been dreaming. Yeah.
Which is like...
I hate Umbridge, but that was fucked up of Ron to do.
Yeah, which, I mean, in fact, as a kid, I always just assumed that meant, like, she was scared of... She just had bad memories of the centaurs. Which I know the original centaur myth is that centaurs will shag anything with a pulse. And maybe even things that don't have a pulse. But, like...
Yeah,
I didn't pick up on that.
Rowling is really fucked up. And we will get to something in the Half-Blood Prince... And I will delve more deeply into this because I've seen a video of it's about the Horcruxes, but we'll get to it later. But yes, Umbridge is worse in the book. The I must not tell lies shit, the detentions. she does with Harry. There are even more detentions in the book. He doesn't just get one detention. It's a whole week's worth of detentions in the book. And the scar just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper.
I was going to jump over to Ginny. Does she get a character yet?
Yes. Actually.
Surprisingly, yeah. In the book, yes. In the movie, she's still background extra number 4.
In the movie, at one point, Harry's like, "Oh, I think Cho likes me," and then you see Ginny look upset, and I was like, "What? Did I miss something?"
In the book, Ginny actually has a boyfriend who's in Ravenclaw named Michael Corner, and because she starts dating him, she grows to be way more comfortable around Harry. So she's actually the first one of, I think, everybody in the Order of the Phoenix in Grimmauld Place that greets him. She's like, "Oh, hi, Harry. I thought I heard your voice," pretty much. And like, she actually has moments where when Harry tries to isolate himself from everybody after finding out that Voldemort might be possessing him, she calls him out on it. And she's like, "That's stupid of you to fucking do. Like I'm literally the only one you fucking know that could have been possessed by Voldemort. So I know how it feels." And he's like, "Oh, I forgot." And she's like, "Lucky you fucking bitch."
Yeah. And there's even, if I remember correctly, there's a bit where she finds him in the library and they just have a nice little moment.
I love that scene.
Yeah. Which is like, okay, it's not like Romeo and Juliet, but it's like there's a setup for.
Yeah, it's just them having a natural conversation alone for the very first time, and it's actually a really nice moment. So it basically sets up that romance. Yeah, in case you guys didn't know, I love Harry and Ginny.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about my other boy, Snape, because I think in the book they specify that Snape's the one who tells the Order where Harry is to make the save, but in the movie it's more vague. But I guess you could still interpret it that way, and I'm not sure which one I prefer.
Yeah, because there's the bit in the movie where Harry says he's got Padfoot, and Snape turns around and he says, "I don't know what you're talking about." And it's clear, like in his before, like he knows what he's on about, but doesn't want to give the game away to Umbridge.
Alan Rickman was so good. I'm sorry, I know we're talking about the movies and not the book, but this movie's fucking amazing.
Yeah, hang on. No idea.
It's so good. It's so good. Sorry, guys.
Speaking of Snape, we get the Snape's worst memories thing.
Yeah.
Your father was a swine.
Yeah, but there's an added bit where when Lily is trying to defend Snape from James and Sirius, she's like, and James is basically like, "You're lucky Evans was here, Snivellus," and she's like, "I don't need help from filthy mudbloods like her." Yeah, he calls her a fucking mudblood, and I'm like, yeah. Skipping ahead to the last book, and I'm like, this girl is your fucking best friend.
He made a mistake.
Yeah, but apparently, according to Deathly Hallows, he called literally every other Muggle-born a mudblood except for Lily.
Are you telling me J.K. Rowling has a plot hole in her writing?
Yes, the most egregious one is in the last book, and we will get to that. Ugh. Anyways.
But just to add on to that, it really, that scene in particular kind of hammers home the difference between Snape in the movies and in the book. Because in the movie, when that scene happens, it's meant to make you reflective, like, oh, actually, Snape was a victim to James. Like, he was the equivalent. Like, James was to Snape what Draco is to Harry, and that's supposed to be that parallel. Whereas in the movie, it's like, okay, yes, you learn that Harry's father wasn't a saint, and he has to kind of reckon with the fact that.
Can't wait till Harry's dad's a racist and does it in the TV show.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be. I'm so not looking
don't
forward.
Get me started, please.
Yeah, but it's sort of like in the book, it's like, okay, yeah, James made your life hell, but then they immediately make him look worse because he calls Harry's mum a mudblood, and it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and in the book, because in the book, it's not because of the occlumency thing where he goes Protego. He actually looks into the pensieve and sees this memory, and Snape catches him and nearly beats the fuck out of Harry.
Yeah,
he beats the fuck out of him. I'm like, bro, he's a child.
Yeah, which is like Snape. Like like we talked about this in the Chamber of Secrets review, where Snape's reaction in the book is actually quite reasonable. Well, Harry didn't accidentally see this memory like in the movie. Like, he went out of his way, poked his head into Snape's head, and was just like, and Snape was like, "What the fuck, man? Get out of my office. I don't want to talk to you." So
on that note, I think Harry was really, really likable in the movie version. And I think he's a lot more emotional and erratic in the book. Like he
Yeah.
wrecks Dumbledore's office, doesn't he, when Sirius
Yes,
dies?
he does.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, in the amongst the fans in the book 5, he's known as Caps Lock Harry because like almost all of his dialogue is just him screaming at people and just like
Yeah.
the bit in the movie where he sees Ron and Hermione again after he's come to Sirius's house. In the movie, he's clearly annoyed at them, but he gets over it quite quickly. In the book, he goes on this massive tirade of like, you don't know what I've been through. I've had to deal with all sorts of shit. You didn't think to come and talk to me. And he's just going at them for really just no reason. And then throughout the book, he just snaps at people again. I mean, obviously, like there's the trauma of what happened in book 4 where he watched Cedric die, but it's sort of like it feels quite disproportionate. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
The only thing I've got left to discuss is Sirius's death and how it differs. Because in the movie, it's kind of not a blink you miss it moment, but it happens very, very quickly.
In the movie, yeah, I mean, because in the book, what happens is Sirius gets hit with like a disarming spell, and he flies backwards into the veil thing, and then just disappears forever. Whereas in the book, they make Bellatrix actively kill him.
Yeah, and then laughs about it. I killed Sirius Black. Oh, you evil cow!
Yeah, and it is. I mean, the acting in that scene's amazing from everyone.
Fucking Daniel Radcliffe, I swear to God.
Yeah,
he's good. He's so good.
The third act, and I'm going to put this in professional terms. So the third act in the movie made me have about 17 orgasms. What is it like in the book? Is it as orgasmic?
No.
It's very long and dragged out.
Yeah. Until Dumbledore's duel with Voldemort, it is so fucking boring. So let me break it down for you. So basically, they arrive at the Ministry.
Yeah.
Wait, before we do that. So as in the movie, and this is a problem in both, they ride the Thestrals to get there. Now, you can only see a Thestral if you've seen somebody die. So Luna and Harry can ride Thestrals. Makes sense. What are the other 4 riding? Like, what are they looking at? Like, are they just...
they're riding... That John Cena flew them.
And they're like, what am I riding on? I'm riding on thin air. It's just...
So just because you mentioned the Dumbledore duel, I remember watching it, and you've got that epic shot of everyone with their wands, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. And then just when the movie it tricks you into thinking it's going to give you a chance to breathe, they tone it down, and you're like, oh, that was amazing. Then Dumbledore's like, you better get over it. And then, oh my God, there's more.
It was foolish of you to come here tonight, Tom. The Aurors are on their way, by which time I shall be gone, and you shall be dead.
Oh, it's so good. That's the only time I like Michael Gambon's performance. Oh,
he's great. We'll get to Half-Blood Prince, but it's his best performance. But we'll get to... So, yes. So they arrive at the Department of Ministries in the book. They're not even in the Hall of Prophecies. They don't even go in there immediately. So basically, they go to this circular room with blue torches. So bear with me. And then they go to several different rooms. So they go to the circular room. They go to the brain room, back to the circular room, then to the room with the veil, back to the circular room, to the room where the time turners are held, and then they're in the Hall of Prophecies. And it goes on for like, I don't even know how many pages. But and yes, this is the book where J.K. Rowling was like, let me destroy all the time turners so there's no more plot holes, and then the cursed child happened.
Yeah, which we will have to get to another time.
No, we won't. What cursed child? That didn't happen. They made 8 films and they made no more. There wasn't a spin-off series. It was just 8 films and they left it alone. They didn't remake it on HBO with a black Snape for some reason. Didn't happen.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it just keeps going and going and going. And in the fucking book, the kids are not all together when they're fighting the Death Eaters. They're split up, and it's not as powerful. They're split up, and it's more boring. There's a moment where Ron gets hit with a spell that makes him basically fucking drunk almost, and he calls one of those brains to him, and the brain's tentacles wrap around him like it's fucking Otto Octavius, and it's about to fucking smother him to death.
Why is this sounding like Goosebumps?
I
What's
don't
going on?
No, and then there's a moment where one of the Death Eaters comes in, and there's like a magical thing in the time room where it's basically like a bird hatching from its egg, and then it rewinds, but then his head gets caught in it, and his head turns into a fucking baby's head.
I have a question.
She was high on drugs. She had the Stephen King-isms going on in this one.
I have a question at this point in this little podcast.
Uh-huh.
What's going on?
I don't think we know either. There's also one thing about the third act that really annoys me, which is that, so in the book, both Hagrid and McGonagall are out of commission by the time Harry gets his vision about Sirius and he sees him in his head that Voldemort's captured him, because Hagrid they've tried to arrest Hagrid and he's run away at this point, and McGonagall is in hospital because she was attacked by the Ministry and she got knocked out. So it makes sense. So when Harry gets the vision, he's like, okay, I've got literally no one at Hogwarts that I can trust. Dumbledore's not here. McGonagall's not here. Hagrid's not here. I'm not going to fucking ask Snape. So obviously I've got to go and save him. In the movie, McGonagall and Hagrid are both still at Hogwarts. Like, he could just go up to them and be like, hey, Professor, I got this vision in my head that Sirius is being tortured. Not to worry, Harry. We'll go back to his house. We'll check if he's still there. Oh, he's still there. Well, you can see that it was all fake.
Apparently there's a subplot with Percy Weasley.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Can I go through this?
Sure. You go ahead.
Okay, so in the books, when Harry gets to Sirius's house and he meets up with everyone, he's like, oh, well, Percy works in the Ministry. Can't he help you guys out? And they're all just sort of looking at each other awkwardly. So it turns out that after the events of the Goblet of Fire, Percy suddenly got promoted to being Fudge's assistant, basically. And Percy comes home expecting everyone to be really happy. And Arthur Weasley's like, well, okay, he's obviously done this because he knows that the family's friends with Dumbledore and he wants you to spy on Dumbledore. Percy then gets really offended by this. He has a massive go at them. And then he disowns his family and leaves the house.
Which is not in the movie at all.
Yeah.
So
and throughout...
because he's barely in.
I think Percy shows up like holding the good guys or something. And I was watching it like, wait.
And I'm like, wait a minute.
What's going on here?
What the fuck has he been doing all this time?
Yeah. And it's like throughout the book, you see Percy like sporadically where, he's helping out at Harry's trial with Fudge. He's there when they try to arrest Dumbledore and Dumbledore claps them all into next week. But he kind of pops up as like a kind of, oh yeah, there's Percy. That's what happened to him.
Is Charlie Weasley in this?
Not physically.
He's
I don't.
mentioned.
Have we spoke about Charlie Weasley yet?
No, we have not.
I think
it's 5.
Damn it, we're just so. Well, it took until book 5 for us to be like, oh yeah, Charlie Weasley exists.
Yeah.
He's a character in these
Justice for Charlie.
Poor
Yes.
But yeah, Charlie Weasley is a cat. I think we mentioned him once because he helps bring the dragons.
Yeah,
he's mentioned in the second film, and he might be mentioned randomly elsewhere, but we never see him.
Yeah.
And he's more prominent. He's the most prominent in book 4 because he helps with the Triwizard Tournament.
Yeah, but I don't believe he doesn't show up in Order of the Phoenix at any point. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Like they offhandedly mention, like, oh, Charlie knows lots of wizards from other countries, so he's trying to make contacts on his days off to help the Order of the Phoenix, and that's all the mention he gets. But seeing as we're talking about the third act, we've talked about the duel with Dumbledore. So after that, Dumbledore and Harry have a conversation. And they have a conversation where they talk about the fact that he's the chosen one and that neither can live while the other survives, blah, 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 blah. In the book, they have the additional thing that answers a question that was raised in our first episode. Why do they keep sending Harry back to the Dursleys?
Yep.
And in the book, essentially, the way they explain it is that when Lily Potter sacrificed herself for Harry, this created some kind of magical enchantment whereby if Harry was living with a member of Lily's family, he couldn't ever be harmed. So that's why they keep sending him back to the Dursleys, because obviously Aunt Petunia is Lily's sister, and he lives there with them in safety.
There is a theory, and you can confirm if this is canon or explained in the books or anything, but there was a theory that the reason the Dursleys are such massive dickheads is because when you're exposed to a Horcrux,
That's not true.
But I'm like, but they're not the Ring from Lord of the Rings.
No,
other people don't act like dicks when they're around Harry.
Yeah, no, that theory is literally proven false by the first chapter of the first book. Petunia and Vernon are already assholes.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
So I'm just like, no, that theory, it means fuck all because of the very first chapter of Philosopher's Stone.
Harry spends so much time with the Weasleys, none of them act like dickheads.
Yeah.
Except Charlie. Fuck him.
Yeah, Charlie doesn't exist. But that is the reason why. Which they don't mention in the movies. I mean, I guess you could argue in the movies there isn't a natural way for him to mention that. Because I guess by film 5, I don't think anyone was particularly thinking about it. But it would have been nice to include that thing.
Yeah.
Do you have any other direct points you wanted to discuss before we wrap up?
I do, definitely. But I wanted to mention real quick, that fucking conversation. In the movie, it's only a minute. In the book, it's an entire fucking chapter. It's 25 pages long.
Yeah. In fairness...
What did pacing ever do to J.K. Rowling as a child?
Yeah.
Everything, apparently.
Yeah. In fairness, that scene it is important because it's sort of like Harry just unleashing all of his anger about Sirius and about Sirius's death and how he's angry about having to be the one who's carrying all this responsibility. And it's also, I think it's important because it's the first time you see Dumbledore being human. Like you see him as like a vulnerable human being.
So some things I wanted to mention. The S.P.E.W. plot line is done again. Yeah. It's not spew. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's done again. And a lot of fans have said it's done more egregiously in Order of the Phoenix.
Because this is where she leaves the hats around, isn't it?
Yes. So basically Hermione sews hats and scarves and leaves them around the Gryffindor common room every night, hoping that the house elves will grab them and they'll be set free.
By accident.
Yeah, by accident.
Yeah. And everyone
on a technicality, to set them free, don't you have to physically give them? You can't just find. Surely when like Dobby finds the Malfoy's laundry, oh, Dobby's free. You can't just find random clothes and then that's it, I'm free.
Let's go. They'd have to be very careful when taking him to do the washing, though.
These aren't gifts.
Just so you know, Dobby, these aren't for you.
Yeah. So,
Plus, also, everyone still gets annoyed. It's like, yeah, Hermione, how dare you try to free Snape?
Yes, come on now. It's so stupid.
I swear to God, if they cast a black girl as Hermione, they are making this so much worse.
Yes.
Yeah. It's also the fact of like Hermione, they don't want, because another thing about that is that the house elves straight up refuse to clean Gryffindor common room from that point on because they don't want to pick up any of the clothes because they don't want to be freed. It's like, again, you're having a race of slaves who don't want to be free, that are all happy being slaves.
Basically, in the book, Rita Skeeter.
Oh, the pedophile.
Yeah. She's in this book too. And she interviews Harry about the night in the graveyard, about Voldemort's return, and does it for Luna's father's magazine, The Quibbler. And it goes viral. And Umbridge just gives Harry another week's worth of detention.
It's interesting how they never bothered to bring her back in any of the other movies. They're like, oh yeah, Rita. I think because they mention her because she writes the book on Dumbledore in film 7. I think that's the only other time she's mentioned. So let's also talk about St. Mungo's Hospital for Maladies and Injuries, which I think is the full name. I might have got that wrong slightly.
I think so.
Yeah. So after Mr. Weasley gets attacked by Nagini, he gets sent to hospital. Now in the movie, it's like Mr. Weasley gets attacked, Harry starts taking lessons with Snape, and then Mr. Weasley's back with his family in the next scene. In the book, Mr. Weasley has an extended stay at hospital, and Harry and the Weasleys and Hermione all go to see him. And at this point, you meet all sorts of weird people. There's kind of the stereotypically unhelpful receptionist, which is like, I don't know if anyone knows the sketch in Little Britain with the receptionist, like, computer says no.
Yeah,
It's basically that. Um, so they meet up with Mr. Weasley, and they also find Gilderoy Lockhart. So he comes back
Yes.
Is
very
he still
briefly.
crazy?
Yeah, and
Yes.
he comes
He's
back
so
and he's
great.
still a bit bamboozled because he's still lost his memories. But he kind of instinctively signs autographs, and nobody really knows why. He just likes signing autographs. He doesn't remember that he's famous. So you get closure on him. And
Yeah.
then you also meet Neville and his parents.
Yeah, I really wish they didn't cut this scene out of the movie. This
Yeah.
scene is so powerful in the book.
Yeah. Because at this point, Harry knows about Neville's parents because of the vision he saw in the pensive in the fourth book, which was also cut in the movie. So he knows that Neville's parents were tortured by the Death Eaters to insanity. Now he, Ron, Hermione, and Ginny bump into Neville with his grandma, and they're visiting his very brain damaged parents. And it's like a genuinely really heartfelt scene because you see Neville, it's like the first, because Neville was always like the dumb comic relief for four books. And it's the first time that suddenly there's so much more depth to him, which I think they tried to do in the movie a bit. There's that one scene where he and Harry are looking at the photo of the original Order of the Phoenix, which I guess does the job fine, but I would have preferred to see this scene.
Yeah.
And I think
There's a moment in this scene where his mother comes up to him with a gum wrapper and places it in his hand, and after walking away, his grandmother's like, "I'll throw it away. You already have enough." But Neville sneakily puts the gum wrapper in his pocket because it's literally the only kind of interactions he'll ever have with his mom, and it's as close as he'll get to like being comforted by his mother. And so he cherished the gum wrappers like nothing else, which is so fucking heartbreaking. I feel so bad for Neville in this book.
Yeah. But it's a great scene, and I think the movie was made worse for not including it.
Yeah. Onto a more lighthearted scene. Fred and George's escape from Hogwarts is more epic in the book than it is in the movie.
Yeah.
Because Umbridge actually permits Filch to what is it? Whip them.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. She literally does. So this whole passage is so wonderful on page 675. As the inquisitorial squad closed in, Fred and George kicked off from the floor, shooting 15 feet into the air, the iron pegs swinging dangerously below. Fred looked across the hall at the poltergeist bobbing on his level above the crowd. "Give her hell from us, Peeves." Yeah. And Peeves sure fucking did.
Yeah. Whereas in the movie, oh no, we can't just have them escape. They also have to set off a bunch of fireworks and blow up the exam hall as they leave. Which again, the movies like to hype up all the action scenes. Just to quickly touch on a scene that, I mean, the payoff is included in film 7, but they don't include the setup here. So at one point during the book, Sirius gives Harry a Christmas present, and Harry doesn't open it. And at the end of the book, after Sirius is dead, he opens this present, and it's a mirror.
I was so confused watching the movies. I was like,
yeah. And
what's Harry looking at?
And Harry looks at this mirror, and he tries seeing, and it doesn't do anything, and he smashes it, because he's really mad that it doesn't do anything. And later we find out that essentially Sirius has another copy of this mirror, and it would have been a way for them to talk to each other, essentially like a magic form of FaceTime. Which again, in the movies, you see Harry just with this shard of glass staring into it. And like out of context, you're like, where did he get this glass? Why is he staring into this glass? And then later on, he bumps into Nearly Headless Nick?
Hairly headless? How can you be hairly headless?
But he finds Nearly Headless Nick. And he says, "Oi, Nick, like, you're a ghost. Surely Sirius should be coming back as a ghost." And Nick is sort of like avoiding the question, because he's like, I mean, like, the reason I'm a ghost is because I was too cowardly to face death. And like, Sirius was lots of things. He wasn't cowardly. So he's certainly not going to be coming back as a ghost. And it just makes Harry more and more depressed. And yeah, that is sort of a very, slightly nihilistic thing to end the book on. But there you go.
Yeah. Speaking of Sirius, I don't really like Sirius that much in this book. He's a fucking dickhead to Harry the entire time. Almost like no, literally, he's only a dickhead to Harry because he can't leave Grimmauld Place. That's it. And like in the movie, when Harry is like, "Oh, that vision of Mr. Weasley being attacked, I was the snake." Sirius comforts him, and he gives one of the best quotes of the entire series. What matters is like I don't know what the quote actually was, but it was something really great. But in the book, he's like, "Oh, you're just tired. Stop worrying.
Eat. You'll feel better."
Oh
I know that was Lupin, but still. Great quote.
Just building off the Sirius thing is so in the movie, Sirius's death is one of, I think, top 5 saddest moments in the movies, at least. In the book, it's slightly different because essentially Sirius didn't have to leave Grimmauld Place. Like, throughout the whole book, Sirius has been cooped up inside his house because he's not allowed to leave, because they're scared that if somebody sees him, then they'll tip it off to the Death Eaters that Sirius is alive and he's working with the Order and he'll be in even more danger. So throughout the whole book, Sirius is just really pissed off that he can't leave the house. Then cut to Harry and the others are in danger, and Sirius chooses to leave Grimmauld Place even though he didn't have to. He could have just stayed put where he was, but he chose to leave. And in choosing to leave, that in turn causes his death. So it's like, rather than being like, oh, he sacrificed himself for Harry, it's sort of like, okay, this guy let his ego get the better of him. He wanted some adventure and he wanted some action, and that ended up causing his death. Which also ties in to Kreacher. Now,
yes, I forgot about Kreacher.
Kreacher is a nothing character in this film. Like, I think I even read that he wasn't even going to be included, and then J.K. Rowling fought to keep him in. So they're like, fine, we'll keep the elf. He'll have like 2 lines, but he can be there. So then in the movie, there's the bit where Kreacher's being horrible to Harry, and Sirius is like, get out! Or he tells him, away with you, or whatever it is he says to him. Now, in the movie, this doesn't go anywhere. Kreacher just leaves. In the book, Kreacher interprets get out as, oh, I can leave the house and do whatever I want. So Kreacher leaves the house and he goes straight to Bellatrix. And he, obviously, because he's a house elf, he's bound to serve Sirius, so he can't tell her much. But he tells them that, oh, Sirius and Harry are getting really close. They're like kind of like a father-son relationship. And that's what inspires the Death Eaters to have the Sirius torturing vision to lure Harry away. Yeah. Meaning that Kreacher indirectly caused Sirius's death, which Harry is pissed off about in the end of the book.
He's a little bastard in the book.
Yeah. Which Harry is...
That's okay, because in book 7, he gets a redemption. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. But I think that more or less covers everything in the book. There's not a huge amount to talk about. So should we do...
So in like a few sentences, how would you summarize the book overall?
I have one word: boring.
I'm
boring as fuck.
I'll admit, like, it's incredibly bloated. I didn't hate reading it nearly as much as The Goblet of Fire. I think that
Goblet of Fire... This is the longest book, right?
It is the longest book, whereas, like, there is filler, but I feel like all the kind of filler stuff was still, like, contributing to character arcs, contributing to development between the relationships of the characters. Whereas in The Goblet of Fire, it was literally just, like, killing time between the various tasks, and then the climax with Voldemort. But
my original thoughts was that this was the worst one of all the books, but I'm gonna retract that. I'm gonna retract that a little.
No spoilers. There must be another worse one later on. Which
I will say, I'll go ahead and say spoilers. There is no other worse one, but let me go ahead and retract my opinion. I think this one's a little bit better than Goblet of Fire, just a bit, just a little. Yeah. I thought about it, and I'm like, the worst thing you can be with a book is offensive, and Goblet of Fire was offensive. This one is just boring.
Right, I think that summarizes it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Check out the review. But yeah, stay tuned for next one, part 6, which is Oh dear.
We're gonna have
can't wait.
opinions.
I can't wait for Half-Blood Prince. I'm so excited.
I've got some stuff to say.
I do too.
Here
Sorry.
we go.